so what happens when you press the send button? You've spent a lot of time putting your CV together, and we're going to talk about what to put onto your CV just now. Where does it go? Okay, so there are 3 places it goes. The dustbin of death, that's the junk mail folder, that's literally into the dustbin, somebody throwing it away. It's not getting seen because somebody didn't bother to open it, because it didn't attract their attention. If it goes into the dustbin of death, it's never ever going to be picked up again. So we obviously don't want to go there, right? There's cyberspace, where it just hangs around getting forwarded backwards and forwards to other people, but nobody really picks it up and gets excited about it. And then there's the interview, and that's where you want your CV to get you, right? Okay, so what is the shortest route to getting your CV to the point of the interview? How many of you send out your CVs to every possible company that you can think of, whether they've asked or not? Yeah, I did too. I sent out about 100 copies of my CV when I was at your level. Okay, so how do you decide where you're sending it?
I just Google mining companies.
Okay.
And they have that recruitment email.
Okay. Okay. So. Okay. All right, so you send it to an email address of somebody you don't know. They don't know you. They haven't particularly asked for your CV, but there's a way to get a CV to some anonymous person. Okay? And what sort of luck have you had with that? Okay. And how many CVs have you sent out? Okay. All right. How much time did that take? Wow, okay. So return on investment of that week of time, not terribly high. Okay. Yeah. So, same as me. I sent out probably at least 100 CVs when I was a graduate. I think I got a response on 2. Okay? Now your response to unsolicited CVs is almost guaranteed to be 0. Okay? Unless there's something absolutely standout, amazing about your CV, and even then, it's not going to be terribly high. So, unsolicited CVs are pretty much going to be a waste of time. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying manage your expectations, because it can be soul-destroying to send out your CV to 100 different companies and not hear anything back. Okay? So, solicited CVs. So somebody's put out an advert, or they have a jobs portal that specifically says we're looking for these things, or you meet somebody at a networking event and they say, I've enjoyed this conversation, why don't you drop me your CV? That is the best way to get your CV seen by somebody. Okay? So first thing I want to say is, or rather ask, is how much time are you guys putting to networking in the mining industry, attending networking events, attending seminars outside of university, connecting on LinkedIn with people that you might have met at these events, or somebody who's come to talk to you at a seminar like this? Are you doing that sort of thing? Yeah? Okay. Anybody else? Not really. Okay. So what's stopping you? You were shaking your head a lot, so I'm asking you in the back row. No, in the back row. Lack of interest. Your lack of interest. Okay, why?
Just the space I would enjoy.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to be brutal here. You have to be building your networks, your profile, and your relationships right now. Because if you get to the end of your studies and you haven't put any effort into getting to know potential employers, get to know people in the organizations that you might want to work at, it's going to be very difficult for you to get a foot in the door. So I want to encourage you. This is the, what day of O week? Last day of O week? Okay. You've got a year ahead of you, okay? And I would imagine some of you are going to be looking for VAC work this year. Some of you are definitely going to be looking for permanent employment next year or the year after. Start now to be building your relationships. Are you members of SAIMM or GSSA? Yeah? Okay. You can all be student members of GSSA and SAIMM. Go and apply to be student members now. Go to their events over the course of this year. Talk to the people at those events. And once you've talked to them, connect with them on LinkedIn. Because once you put that effort in, you've got a warm invitation into a conversation with somebody. Okay? So please, if that's the only thing you do after this workshop, please make it that you put some effort into investing in relationships. Okay? It is the most important thing that you can do to support your CV. Alright, so this is a very messy, complicated slide, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But the various different stakeholders involved in sending unsolicited CVs are all the online portals that you submit things through, recruiters, the hiring manager at a company, and the technical professionals. And you can see from this mess that there are lots of different routes between you pressing send and it getting to somebody who's going to make a decision. Okay? And each of those stakeholders has a different interest in this whole game. Okay? So the recruiters don't work for you. Who thinks the recruiter has your interests at heart? Anybody? I certainly thought the recruiters had my interests at heart. Okay? That's a fallacy. Recruiters are not interested in you unless you can help them make money. Okay? So you have to make sure that if you are sending your CV to a recruiter, you are sending them the best possible version of yourself. Okay? And if they can't place you with a company, your CV is going to go into the dustbin of death, or it's going to sit in a database until maybe something comes up. Okay? So their objective is to basically sell a person to their client, who is the company that's hiring. Okay? The HR department is really only interested in your CV if they have a position to fill and they have budgets for that placement. Okay? So if you're sending your CV to lots of different HR departments and they don't have a position to fill, chances are you're going in the dustbin or you're sitting in a database. Okay? The recruitment, or rather the technical professional, often receives CVs from people that they've met, but they don't really know what to do with CVs. And I was in that position at one stage. I used to receive probably about 30 or 40 CVs a week. And at one stage, I didn't know what I was supposed to do with those things. So they sat in a file on my desk, and I felt really guilty because I couldn't do anything with them. And then at some stage, the HR manager said, you're not supposed to be receiving CVs, they must come to me. And they will go into a database. So, the point of all of this is that there's a very messy route that your CV takes to essentially not really go anywhere, unless there's somebody who has a position that they want to fill, or they've met you and they go, actually, this is somebody I want to give an opportunity to. Okay, any questions on that? So, the most direct way to get your CV to the point of getting an interview is to respond to solicited adverts for jobs, okay, or for internships. And every single time you send your CV, it's going to go through what we call an applicant tracking system. So an applicant tracking system is basically scanning software. And that is scanning for keywords. Okay? So when you send your 100-page or 10-page or 20-page CV with all of your documents, it's scanning the first 2 or 3 pages. And if it doesn't find what the words that it's looking for in the first 2 or 3 pages, it stops scanning. So what that immediately should say is your CV shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 pages. Okay? Unless somebody specifically said, send us all of your university marks and your certificates and your ID document and this, that, and the next thing, don't send them. Okay? Because it's just taking up space and it's not going to get looked at. And the most important thing here is to make sure that you're picking up on the keywords in the job adverts. Anybody know about search engine optimization or keywords? No? A lot of blank faces. Okay. So, when you've got a job spec, it's going to say, we're looking for these skills, this level of experience, this number of years, working with this type of software. Okay? If you have those skills, that experience, knowledge of that software, you need to make sure it shows up on your CV, using as close to as possible the kinds of words that they've used. Okay? Because if you're not using words that the scanning software is going to pick up, you might say the same thing, but if it hasn't been trained to pick up a whole range of different words, it's not going to pick up what you've said. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? So I often see people write long paragraphs to explain that they've worked, that they've basically got, 3 years of experience, or they've had a couple months of VAC work experience. And the scanning software might be looking for plus 4 years experience, or plus 2 months in-field experience. And if your long sentence doesn't specifically use those words in it somewhere, you might have explained that you can meet those criteria, but it's not going to pick that up. And immediately what happens is that CV gets sent to the dustbin or cyberspace. Okay, so it doesn't hit a person. And our ultimate goal here is for your CV to get to a person. Any questions so far? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. So LinkedIn, all of the companies that you're submitting anything through a recruitment specific email address or a recruitment portal, so PNet, Careers24, Anglo's portal, they've all got portals. All of those, your CV goes straight into scanning software. And all of them are looking for very specific words that have been specified by the recruitment or the hiring manager. So if you're not reading the adverts and you're not modifying your CV to meet the requirements of that advert, you may as well not apply. Okay, so key points out of this is, firstly, know what's being asked for. Invest time in searching for opportunities. And if you're not finding opportunities, invest time in building relationships with people at companies that you might be interested in working at. Okay? Because somebody who has met you and gotten to know you is way more likely to give you an opportunity than somebody who hasn't a clue who you are. Does that make sense? Okay. So, the second thing is, once it's got through the keyword search, so it's passed that test, it's now going to actually go to a person. And that person is maybe out of 1,000 applications going to receive 100 applications. And they've still got to go through 100 applications. And if it takes them 10 minutes to read each application, that's a lot of time, right? Okay, so you want them to spend whatever time they allocate to your CV as best as possible. And that's where making sure that your CV looks good, so it's laid out in a way that's easy for people to read, and brings the most critical information that they need to see right to the front of the CV. Okay, so often I see important stuff buried at the end of the CV. Things around achievements, things around qualifications, things around leadership positions. People seem to often put that right at the end of the CV. That's the stuff you want right up front. Because at your level, you don't have a lot of job experience, so you don't have a lot of career history to build up your CV. what you've got is all of your achievements from school and university, anything that you've done in terms of participating in committees, being in a leadership position, volunteering your time, VAC work that you might have done, conferences that you might have presented at, great marks that you might have achieved, awards that you might have had. And that might be in university and or school. It might also be in extracurricular things. So if you've done really well in sport or in acting or in community work that you do, where you invest a lot of your time to volunteering, put that on your CV. Because, in fact, let me not tell you, why do you think that's important? What is that going to show to a recruiter? Potential. You said that at the back. Absolutely. So potential for what? Okay, what makes a good employee? Okay, what else? Okay. So somebody who's fun and kind of makes lots of jokes? Or somebody who takes the time to think about what they really want to be doing and they put their time and effort behind that? Bit of both, absolutely. So some of your personality, very important. But there's a difference between having a fabulous personality and being the life and soul of the party and actually being able to get down and deliver on the work. So it's a balance between the two. And your personality is going to come out in the interview, but your CV is where you want to be able to show, I have a brain and I apply it. I don't just wait for people to tell me what to do. I have things that I'm interested in and I've gone out and put some time and effort behind following through on those things. People have voted me into a leadership position, whether that's at church, in your community, in your sports, in whatever it is that you do, chess, whatever. I don't care. If you've had a responsibility or a position where you are responsible for bringing other people together, making things happen and achieving goals, that's a leadership position. And people want to know that you are able to think for yourself, to critically reason, take some initiative, and not just arrive one day, sit down at your desk and wait for everything to be told to you. And sure, in your first job, you're not going to know what you're doing, okay? Your university degree doesn't teach you how to do the job, okay? It gives you a little bit of theoretical understanding of what you're going to do, but it really doesn't train you on how to work. But what an employer is looking for is somebody who's going to come into the workplace and be the least effort to take into a position of being able to work. So somebody who's taken the initiative, got out there, got involved, followed through on things, led other people, been involved in organizing things, volunteered their time, they have thoughts of their own, they have interests of their own, along with a set of pretty decent marks and some sense of building their network. Those are the people who rise to the top. Okay, and there's so much you can do this year, if you're not already doing it, to make sure that you're putting yourself in that position. Any questions? Any observations or thoughts? Yeah.
I'd just like to add on to that in terms of showing that you take initiative. It also applies to your honors project this year. You'll find that some of you will have different types of supervisors. You might have a supervisor that takes you by the hand and walks you through everything, or you might have a supervisor that
Okay. So if you're somebody who's too scared to try, spend this year stepping a little bit out of your comfort zone and trying to come up with the solutions for yourself and then getting somebody to verify them, rather than waiting and expecting somebody to tell you what to do before you try it. Okay. And that's a question that's going to come up in an interview. People are going to say to you, what mistakes have you made? And if you say, oh no, I've never made any mistakes in my life, nobody's going to believe you. Okay? But if you say to them, this is the mistake that I've made and this is what I've learned from it, very different answer. Or this is what I've tried to do and this is where I failed and this is where I succeeded when I did it again. Because what that's doing is demonstrating progression. And that's what people want to see, is your ability and your potential to progress. Okay, I'm diverging a little bit from the slides. So, some take-home points for you. Aside from the fact that your CV is almost guaranteed to go through a scanner, is when it gets to a person, do what you can to make sure that somebody has heard about you. So if you're sending your CV to Anglo Platinum, who do you know right now at Anglo Platinum? Anybody know someone at Anglo Platinum? Yeah? Okay. So what can you do with that relationship to make it help you when you send your CV?
Maybe, I don't know, the emails sent out after that, and then maybe sentence, I decided to take it as
Great. Okay. So you mentioned somebody that you've met who can verify that they've met you. Okay, so hopefully after you've met them, you've taken the step to connect with them on LinkedIn, send them an email to say, thanks, I really enjoyed meeting you, this is what I took from your seminar or whatever, and I'm really curious about opportunities at your company. Okay? Immediately your name is something that they're going to remember. Okay? And if you're applying for the job, copy them on the email perhaps. Or say to them, I'm applying for this job, is it possible for you to go and put in a good word for me? Okay. How does that feel? Does that feel like it's something that you can do? Or does that feel difficult? Bit of both? Yeah? Yeah?
Can I just ask, like, in terms of doing that, is it like ethical to actually have someone that's in the company and then you're like, oh, by the way, you know, I sent my CV, so I'm not sure what the.
Okay, so if I went to name drop the name of somebody who I know works there but I've never had a conversation with, I would say that's unethical. And that would probably not be very much in your interest. Okay? Because all you need is for somebody to go to that person and say, do you know Mary Jane? And they go, who? That's not going to count in your favor. It's completely okay to leverage your network if you've nurtured your network. So, if you've met me, we've had a whole bunch of interactions over the last year. We're chatting now, we're contacts on LinkedIn, we follow each other on social media, we chat from time to time, and when you send your CV and you say, I know Briony, and we've been involved in these conversations, and from that, I'm interested in applying to your company. Or you come to me and say, Briony, we've been chatting for a while, I've gotten to know you, I'd really appreciate it if you could put in a good word for me, or be a reference on my CV, or whatever. That's a different story. And that's why I'm saying use your time now to start nurturing your networks. So if you're meeting people who have any form of influence and relationships in the industry, start getting to know them. Yeah.
Isn't that a bit dangerous? Just because you know someone, you must go through the whole HR process.
Oh no, you're going to have to go through the HR process anyway.
And what if you don't meet the requirements, but you still probably want to know this guy? That's
Yeah, so just because you know someone doesn't mean they're going to be able to make anybody give you a job.
they can maybe get you into.
They can maybe help get you an interview. What it says to somebody is, oh, this student or this young person has reached out into their network, okay? They know more than just their immediate circle of peers, okay? They're having conversations with other people. They're taking an interest in the industry. That's what it says to me. If you're then going to that person and saying, you have to get me a job, and oh, I didn't get a job at your company and it's your fault, well, that's not going to go down so well. So nurture your networks, not take advantage of them. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah. Oh, sorry, I put your hand was up. Okay. And then the other point is standing out from the crowd is important. So how you lay out your CV, and that's what we're going to get onto now, is really important.